Imagine a system so profitable that every time the country goes to war, a handful of families get richer while millions of ordinary people pay the price. Not speculation, not rumor, documented, public record profits stretching over 2 centuries. And it's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. This is the story of how 5 families leveraged war like a machine, turning death and destruction into generational wealth. Explosives, oil, banking, planes, logistics, they mastered every piece of the puzzle. And if you think war is about ideology or defense, think again. For them, it's always been business. Let's start with the first family, the one that literally invented America. Military-industrial complex. The DuPont's gunpowder wasn't just a product, it was a ticket to enduring wealth. Eller DuPont, a chemist from France, arrived in 1800 and saw a nation primed for expansion and conflict. Within 2 years, he had set up a gunpowder mill on the Brandywine River, perfectly placed to serve both military and industrial needs. By the War of 1812, DuPont was already supplying the U.S. military. The pattern was clear. War begins. Government needs supplies. DuPont is ready. DuPont profits. Then they wait for the next war. And the profits don't just stop, they compound. The Mexican-American War. Millions in today's dollars. The Civil War. Hundreds of millions. But here's where it gets darker. Ideology didn't matter. Some DuPonts sympathized with the Confederacy, yet they sold to the Union anyway. War wasn't about patriotism. It was about who could deliver first and who could keep expanding. By World War I, DuPont wasn't just a supplier, they were a war empire, selling explosives to the Allies before America even entered the war. Building massive factories, hiring thousands, they turned $5 million in 1914 into over $1 billion today by 1918. And when peace came, they didn't return it, they diversified. Chemicals, plastics, Teflon, war profits became a lasting empire. And DuPont wasn't alone. While they perfected explosives, the Rockefellers mastered oil. The Spanish-American War. Small conflict, huge strategic lesson. Whoever controls fuel controls the military. And the Rockefellers didn't stop there. They supplied both sides in World War I, profiting legally from every barrel of fuel. By now, the pattern is emerging. Position before the war. Secure contracts. Exploit cost-plus pricing. Expand profits. But these families didn't just wait for war, they influenced it. Political donations, lobbying, foreign policy, shaping it, all fed the machine. Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam wars were extended, contracts renewed, profits multiplied. By the time World War II rolled around, the DuPonts, Rockefellers, and Morgans had institutionalized war as a money-making engine. This is where curiosity turns to shock. How far does this pattern go? How much money? And who is profiting today from conflicts that dominate headlines? The numbers will make your jaw drop. What if I told you the most expensive wars in history didn't just cost lives? They created untouchable dynasties. After DuPont, Rockefeller, and Morgan, the next piece of the puzzle was aviation. Lockheed Martin wasn't just making planes, they were building political leverage. The Lloyd brothers started in 1912, barely scraping by, building aircraft for a military that barely understood air power. But they positioned themselves perfectly. World War II arrived, and suddenly aircraft were decisive. P-38 fighters, Hudson bombers, thousands, built hundreds of millions in contracts. And here's the trick: cost plus contracts. Underbid, overrun, repeat. Every cost overrun, paid by the government, guaranteed profit for the company. And Lockheed didn't stop with planes. They built relationships. Former generals became executives. Factories placed in politically sensitive districts. Jobs, votes, influence. It was all part of the strategy. The F-35. Over $1 trillion program today, 7 times over budget, and Lockheed is still paid every cent. Then there's Halliburton, the logistics kings, the Iraq War contracts. Over $40 billion, no bid cost plus guaranteed profit. Meals that were never served, fuel that was never delivered, construction that never finished. Audits found billions wasted in the company still collected. Political connections ensured it. Cheney's role was merely a public footnote. The mechanism worked whether he was in office or not, and the pattern is identical across all 5. Step 1. Position before the war. Step 2. Secure the first contract. Step 3. Cost plus pricing. Step 4. Overrun the budget. Step 5. Hire regulators and officials. Step 6. Lobby for more conflict. Step 7. Diversify profits. Every step is documented, public record. Now ask yourself, if this has been happening for over 200 years, who is next in line? And how many wars were prolonged, encouraged, or even escalated to maintain this money flow? Next, we'll uncover the scale. How much money are we talking about? Hundreds of billions, trillions, if you include indirect profits. And it's still happening. The public pays, soldiers fight, and dynasties grow. Here's the number that will make you rethink every headline about national security: $485 billion. That's the documented profit these 5 families and their companies have extracted from American taxpayers over the last 2 centuries. And that's just the direct contracts. Indirect profits, stock gains, real estate, if you add those, we're talking over $1 trillion. DuPont's explosives, Rockefeller's oil, Morgan's financing, Lockheed's planes, Halliburton's logistics, they all follow the same rhythm. War begins, contracts flow, profits explode, the war ends, infrastructure remains, and they're ready for the next conflict. Every step is optimized, every loophole exploited, and the taxpayers, they foot the bill. But the story doesn't stop at money. It's about power. These families didn't just supply war, they shaped it. Lobbying, think tanks, political donations, revolving doors between government and industry. They ensured that conflicts were not just inevitable, but profitable. Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam wars were extended, contracts renewed, profits multiplied. Consider this: the F-35 fighter jet program alone employs people in 45 states. That's 90 senators with constituents depending on it, voting against the program. Political suicide. And yet, it's 7 times over budget, years behind schedule, and riddled with defects. But the structure is too entrenched to fail. Lockheed profits, Congress funds, taxpayers pay, soldiers fight. Now, add in Halliburton, the Iraq War contracts, over $40 billion. No bid cost plus guaranteed profit. Meals that were never served, fuel that was never delivered, construction that never finished. Audits found billions wasted and the company still collected. Political connections ensured it. Cheney's role was merely a public footnote. The mechanism worked whether he was in office or not. And this is the crucial lesson. War isn't just about ideology or defense. For these families, war is the ultimate business model. They didn't just profit from it, they institutionalized it. And the pattern repeats, decade after decade, century after century. The real question now isn't, did they profit? It's how many opportunities were lost because of this system. $485 billion could have rebuilt the nation, funded free education, universal health care, high-speed rail, cancer research for decades. Instead, it fueled destruction, and the families at the top got richer. But we're still missing one critical piece: the modern era. How does this pattern play out today, in a world with $816 billion in military spending? How do corporations ensure that the money keeps flowing in 2023 and beyond? The system didn't stop in the 20th century. Today, it's bigger, faster, and even harder to trace. In 2023, the U.S. military budget was $816 billion. And just 5 companies, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, General Dynamics, and Northrop Grumman, received over $200 billion. That's 1/4 of the entire defense budget going to a handful of contractors. The pattern is unchanged. Lockheed builds jets, costs soar. Congress funds it anyway because tens of thousands of jobs depend on it. Halliburton manages logistics, costs explode. Political ties ensure continued contracts. Morgan-style financing still exists in the background. DuPont-style chemical and explosive divisions, modernized but still feeding the Pentagon. Rockefeller-style energy contracts. War can't happen without fuel, and they supply it. Here's the critical truth: this isn't conspiracy. Every contract is documented. Every overrun is public record. Every political donation, every revolving door appointment, every lobbyist-funded report traceable. And the same families or their corporate heirs benefit. Soldiers die, taxpayers pay, and dynasties grow. And consider this: the opportunity cost is staggering. Instead of investing in infrastructure, education, healthcare, or research, America funnels hundreds of billions into a system designed to profit from war. Wars are inevitable for some, extended for profit, and exploited for generations. The pattern is not just history, it's present-day reality. Here's the final twist: the system protects itself. Investigations happen. Fines are paid. Executives aren't prosecuted. Companies continue profiting. Lockheed, Halliburton, Morgan Banks, Rockefeller Energy Trusts, DuPont derivatives, all untouchable because the economy, politics, and national defense have become intertwined with their profits. The takeaway is both simple and terrifying. War, as a business model, is a machine that has never stopped. 5 families, over 200 years, every major conflict. The formula is the same: position before war, secure contracts, maximize costs, hire regulators, influence policy, diversify profits. The pattern repeats because it works, because it's documented, and because the incentives never change. So next time you hear about a war, ask yourself, who profits? Who positioned themselves before the first shot? And how much of what we spend on war could have been used to build a better world? The answer may make you rethink everything you've been told about patriotism, defense, and progress. Because one thing is clear: war isn't just a tragedy. For some, it's the most profitable business on earth, and the cycle isn't ending anytime soon.